we see it as a very positive initiative. You know, when we first started out, when this president, not the previous one, mentioned at the time, the previous one was in the seat, but it was at one of the CEO initiative engagements in a feedback session where the then Deputy President said he'd like to create an initiative that creates 500,000 jobs a year. And then Colin Coleman, who's my co-convener, came and he said, "You want to take the ball and run?" And I thought for half a second, I said yes. And then we thought, it was just like matching a job with a corporate. And then we realized that there aren't jobs.
Yeah.
That these jobs actually have to be created. And so a critical part of YES became, how do you actually create jobs that currently don't exist, or how do you match a training program with jobs that do exist, but there aren't the skills to meet those jobs? So, like part of what we are doing at Investec is we're training artisans, we're training chefs, we're training, in communities that are tourist communities all over the show. And so that these are skills that there's a shortage of, and in the case of chefs, 95% of them actually get jobs. And that's the important thing, is you can train someone in something where there's a shortage, and then that party can ultimately be guaranteed a job because they now have some kind of skill that they didn't have before. You're really starting to add. So, we are quite positive on the potential for YES. I think to get to the 330,000 jobs in year one is a pipe dream. We're already running, I don't know what, probably for me, 2 years late, for the president, probably 4 or 5 months late, and no fault of, corporates, mainly slowness of government to get the act together, which is part of the challenge, is the capacity of the state. But at least we had collaboration, and at least we are, able to dialogue with people and get somewhere. So we are fairly positive, but we need to get going. Very clearly, we have an economy that is stuck, and that there are structural inhibitors. One of the big structural inhibitors is, the education of the workforce. I think Gideon actually mentioned it right up front. Is one of the most terrible legacies of apartheid was Bantu education, and that you have a workforce that, is just not there with the right kind of skills on a broad scale. I was at a meeting with business leadership and discussing immigration issues, and they said there are 700,000 skilled jobs available in our country, and I don't know how many, people are looking for jobs, but there's, 6 million plus. So I saw stats of 8 million. You get hell of a confused with what the ultimate number is. But we are not, and they were promoting that we allow broader immigration to fill those 700,000 jobs, because then they'll help absorb more unskilled jobs, and Department of Home Affairs, won't even hear of it. So I think that we have significant structural issues in our economy, of which education is one, and that is very long term. You're not going to fix it overnight. But then on the other hand, I think there's an ability for us to create additional jobs by helping people who have no hope, giving them a skill, giving them an ability to know what it's like to go and work. We're trying to supplement what we'll do inside the corporates with building a viable township economy. Because if you don't build a viable township economy and start stimulating economic activity inside the townships, then you are still not going to solve the problem of where these people are going to work. Because corporates are just not creating enough jobs. That will come if you have much greater degree of economic growth, limping along at, where we've been. Even if we get to 2%, it's not going to do anything. We've got to get to 5% plus to start creating real jobs. And then obviously there are all sorts of other issues where you can stimulate employment. I mean, we can look at this land thing negatively. We can look at it, if it's done in a correct way, there could be a positive spin-off to it. The big fear around the land issue is seizure of property. But I know that's not what the president is trying to do, but that is a noise that lives near him. But if it is done in the right way, where, if they have to change the constitution to clarify one or two issues, but entrench property rights, then there can be quite a positive spin-off out of it. If, land that lies fallow is starting to be used with the collaboration of the incumbent farmers. So there are lots of positive things that we can get. But, for us, yes is not only about giving individuals a skill to enable them to understand what it means to work. It's also about creating entrepreneurs. It's also about creating economies that are near to where people live. So that you take away one of the biggest challenges that people have is the cost of transport.